Hey everybody, this is Mike with On Point Preparedness. I haven't done a video in a while and wanted to touch base with you all. I've been busy drywalling my garage and laying down some wood flooring, among other honey-do lists. But I found something pretty interesting that I thought you guys would like and just stumbled upon it yesterday. It's from Rome Reports, the mouthpiece of the Vatican. And it's going to really tie in this really strange Pope Francis and David Bowie / Ziggy Stardust connection. It's also going to reaffirm my last video talking about how all nations are wondering after the beast. So this article is talking about and toting the Vatican's diplomatic power, saying, what's the smallest country in the world, but it has a real diplomatic influence. Talks about how there's more than just religion addressed in the Vatican. They're talking about a multitude of things, including interreligious dialogue. Everyone that watches this channel knows that. They also go down here to say something that I told you guys in my last video. It's actually 180 countries that have diplomatic relations with the Holy See. And it talks about how this extensive international network is something other nations want to tap into. So I told you guys this. The world is wondering after the beast. The people of these nations, the world leaders, they want to have a relationship here. And that's where this beast is deriving its power from. Just waiting for the right catastrophic moment to really set things in place. So that's its relation to the beast system and the world wondering after it. But here's the Ziggy Stardust connection that I mentioned to you guys. Nigel Baker, who's the UK ambassador to the Holy See, had this to say. Even world leaders, I think, can be susceptible to a little bit of stardust and see whether that may rub off on them. And I think it's difficult to find a world leader that has the stardust that Pope Francis has. So obviously Ziggy Stardust, that rang in my head when they mentioned this word stardust. And it's further exemplified by the fact that the Vatican paid a special tribute to David Bowie just a couple months ago upon his death. And when that happened a couple months ago, I thought that was incredibly strange because David Bowie was not necessarily Christian. You know, he blended Jewish Kabbalah, Gnosticism, pagan rituals. To have the Vatican pay a special tribute to him was just strange, especially if you watched his last passing moments in his videos like Black Star, where he had rotting corpse / scarecrows wriggling on 3 crosses. Definitely blasphemous. So just completely strange. But the connection goes on because a lot of these artists and entertainment writers just kept on fueling this fire, saying Pope Francis and David Bowie are an unexpected duet. And it just really talks about how related the two are. So again, this really ties back to that Rome article, and I thought that there was a connection there, and indeed there was. So Ziggy Stardust, what the heck was this character or alter ego that Ziggy or David Bowie came up with? Well, there's a really good and lengthy article from Peter Koenig, the Laughing Gnostic, David Bowie and the Occult, and he goes into the Ziggy Stardust character below here, just talking about what it meant to David Bowie. So we're just going to read through this section right here. Ziggy Stardust, our fine feathered friend, who is he? In David Bowie's visual or visionary performance, civilization was going to collapse and the infinites would arrive. Ziggy Stardust was essentially going to announce the coming of these starmen bringing hope, and Ziggy is the prophet or Messiah taking himself to incredible new heights. This is all related to Gnosticism, which is basically rising in spirituality when you study esoteric religious principles. But it's also something called Manichaeism. It was a competing religion to Christianity in the 2nd and 3rd century, and it says that every man and woman were once stars that were divine. And most of the divine quality reascended to heaven, leaving only behind a tiny little spark or stardust of the divine light and humanity on the physical level and trapped in this physical matter, basically imprisoned here. And it's not until the return of our creators or our saviors that we basically ascend back up to the stars. So this whole Stardust and Ziggy Stardust thing and how it relates to Manichaeism and, you know, looking to the stars for our salvation or looking to the superior race definitely links back to Pope Francis having stardust, and also relates to the fact that the Vatican is closely studying the stars with its Lucifer telescope. And the Stardust connection doesn't even end there. There's a lot of other articles that I found talking about the Pope Francis Stardust worked over Cuba. Could it work with ISIS and the Taliban? That was from The Guardian. There's another article from the Times columnist, why the Pope is sprinkling stardust on Obama. So it's his worldly powers and his influence, his stardust on these world nations so that they follow the beast system and its connection to the stars and to this false supernatural deception that I definitely think is coming. The whole thing is rather creepy. But again, just wanted to show you this really weird connection with the Ziggy Stardust thing, and also just how the Vatican's completely toting their diplomatic power and how the world is wondering after it. Pretty crazy stuff, guys. I know there's a lot going on in the news right now, the Temple Baal, and a lot of world and secular events. Hopefully put out a couple videos over the next week for you guys and keep you up to speed. This is Mike with On Point Preparedness. Hope you enjoyed this. See you guys later.